The following program is intended for a mature audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
This I've got to see.
It's worth watching, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the show. We're going to get into it today. Our theme of this week and into next week is warrior energy, the 4 Jungian archetypes: king, warrior, magician, lover. The previous month we did lover and magician archetypes, and today and this week and next week we're doing warrior archetypes, which is action in the world, a healthy, let's say, disassociation from emotion in the moment, knowing the action you want to take, knowing where your shoulders are turned, knowing what you want to say, what you want to do, how you want to process, what your next decision is, because the warrior has already talked with your king energy, right? The king is the overall planning and directing of your life and your relationship, and the warrior executes, right? He does not executions, but executes. Well, executions when he has to, right? If you have the meth addict break into your house, you want to be able to take action, as is talked about by David Data. Your woman wants you to have the ability to kill. She doesn't want you to be a killer. She doesn't want you to be a psychopath, but she wants to know that you have the ability to kill if you needed, as in if a psycho broke into your house and you had something you're able to do about it. If you're able to do something about it, she'd probably want you to do something about it. She wouldn't want you to say, okay, whatever you want to do, Mr. Psycho Killer. And she definitely wouldn't want you to rely on her to do something physical and, intervene. She'd want you to fucking be able to kill. And that's a piece of the warrior energy. She doesn't want you to be a giant asshole or a psychopath, but she wants you to have the capacity, as Jordan Peterson would say. So as far as the capacity for, how am I going to segue that, Cynthia? I just got myself no hope. The capacity to kill, Miss Cynthia Cruz, the only woman allowed on this show for her professional, feminine, Medusa, seductress, Kali, goddess. What other?
You really are segueing the kill, huh?
Yeah, she's gonna display her ability here to kill in a moment if I don't shut the fuck up. Miss Cynthia Cruz, the only one allowed on the show. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how does the hang 10 distance feel?
It's good. I like the hang 10.
Say hello to the guys so you can give us some feedback on her volume.
Hello.
Without actually putting the microphone in your mouth. Say hello to the guys.
I'll just blush profusely.
Hopefully
it comes across. Okay.
It only took 4 minutes for me to get her to blush. Go ahead, say hi to the guys.
I said, I'm hello.
Say okay. I'd like you to please say their names so they can get a little more of a sound check on you.
Bernard, it's good to see you again. And Matt, thanks for being here today. And Todd.
Not Jason.
Not Jason. Patrick and Kent, JT, it's good to see you. Randy, it's wonderful to see you. And Jordan and Hossein, thanks for being here.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. So punch in the chat for me. Give me some feedback on our levels, on our volume level for you, okay? And if there's any issues, let me know. If it's just you, it might just be you. But if everyone says, yeah, Jeff, maybe you need to turn yourself down because as Patrick said, your booming sexiness is just too much for me, Jeff. Exactly. Awesome, Jordan. Thank you. I appreciate your feedback in the chat there on our sound. All right, let's go ahead and get it rolling. This is Hulk Hogan's going to say hi. We've got some more Ozzy, and he's going to sell us some female spandex. We're also going to talk about what the warrior does when there's infidelity, potentially or confirmed in your relationship. Oh my goodness, Ozzy, man. Women are, apocalypse surviving motivation. I love that. The air conditioner, I don't know who turned the air conditioner on. I'm sure that was a mistake.
Yes, because it won't sell anything when people are cold.
It won't help this. So does it help women sell to women when her nipples are hard? This is a very scientific question.
I would say no, because that's kind of one of her goals, to not be poking out. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
My goal is to not be poking out as well. When I go to CrossFit, they don't like it when I'm poking out. Yeah, well, at least The guys don't like. I mean, I don't know. Most of the guys. If Patrick was there, he'd enjoy me poking out. Nah, I don't know. Okay, she said that's done. I think that's done, Jeff. Continue to move on. Well, let's go ahead and see what Cynthia's Sexcapade spot's going to be here today. She shares that about the last 10 minutes of our show. Here we go. Oh, you are a man starting to rise in the world. Cynthia's Sexcapade spot today. Taking action. Teach her edging. She is so color coordinated. That motorcycle matches her underwear, not the other way around. And her nail polish too. I don't know. She's not wearing like street legal. If they spill, she's going to have a hard time.
Well, at least that area will be protected.
Yes. Her coccyx is protected. This is true. Absolutely. Yeah. And is that vinyl or like plastic panties there?
Leather.
Oh, of course.
Leather.
Oh, of course. Leather, Jeff. But of course. Well, we're going to teach you how to buy and wear red leather panties later. Cynthia's going to teach you about taking action and teach her edging. This sounds good. I want to know about teaching her edging. Definitely. Definitely. All right, let's go and jump into our Staircase of Courage question for today. I've got 2 posts from the forum, one of which Steve Horseman answered, which I thought was fantastic. So I grabbed that. I've got a video to jump us into the ocean of infidelity today as well, right? It's I like to make a little light of it, a little fun of it, because it is such a deep, painful, serious topic that I've been through, that many of the men that I work with and we work with in our relaunch groups, our small groups, and our one-on-one coaching and on the forum have lived through. So it's about, let me jump back here for a second. It's about facing our fears, facing the dragon, shining a light under the bed to face the boogeyman. I've got a gentleman actually that just started with me. He's a pro fisherman. He on TV and everything, right? Pro fisherman. And he's really resisting facing his fear of, well, what if the relationship doesn't work out? What if the marriage doesn't work out? He's kind of avoiding it like the plague, sticking his head in the sand. And a counterintuitive reality in this work, gentlemen, is that whatever you don't face, the fear of that thing will grow. Whatever you send down into the basement, whatever you shove down is going to go down into the basement, lift weights, and come back stronger and more angry than it did last time. And that will come out in your relationship in some capacity. It will come out in your life in some way if you don't deal with it. And you can deal with it here. You can deal with it here and in your journal first, before it poisons anything, before the bad apple poisons anything within your life. And so you have to face the dragons of fears. Now, you don't want to spiral and live with those fears always in your mind, but you do want to address them. And all of that to say, this is why we're going to face infidelity in the face. And here's one question about our existential crisis in the world. What do you want to do before you die? So if you're not jumping on your motorcycle with your red leather thong at this moment, which I know Patrick has a red leather thong on right now. He told me before we started recording, when he told me I was such
Jason
a
said
sexy
he does
beast.
too.
Oh my God. I'm starting to get
coincidence.
What do you know? It's Red Leather Thong Wednesday, apparently. And I didn't say that. It's Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Welcome to the Sino Show, gentlemen. Punch this into the chat right now. You are here because you want to know how to be on fire in your life. And, being here with us raises your energy, raises your vibration, whatever word you want to put it, raises the thoughts that you have in your mind of who you want to be as a man in the world and in relationship. And so, again, if you're not slipping in or out of a thong right now, I want you to punch this into the chat. What's one thing you want to do before you die? The warrior energy within us, the warrior archetype, is very aware of his mortality. The hero, the immature masculine, the immature warrior, thinks he's going to live forever. And that's called the hero within the Jungian, Carl Jung, the Jungian archetypes. And the mature warrior knows that he is mortal, knows that he's going to die someday, and he's good with that. And he knows what he wants to do. He knows his mission. So let's flush that out here. Take 10 seconds, take 20 seconds to punch this into the chat. What's one thing you want to do before you die? Right? And while you're doing that, I'm going to read a few paragraphs that I curated. I curate everything for the show. This is not ad hoc. I don't just copy paste whatever. I have read King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, probably going through my 4th time now. And I take notes in my Kindle, which I encourage you to do as well. Highlight and take those notes in Kindle because you can look those up later. I've started to buy the Kindle with every audiobook that I have as well too, so I can go through the Kindle and pull out quotes. It's good stuff. Okay, here's a few paragraphs from Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette's King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. The warrior energy also shows what we can call a transpersonal commitment. His loyalty is to something, a cause, a god, a people, a task, a nation, larger than individuals, though that transpersonal loyalty may be focused through some important person, like the king or like your child, right, guys? In the Arthurian stories, Lancelot, though fiercely devoted to Arthur and to Guinevere, is ultimately committed to the idea of chivalry and to the god who lies behind such things as noble quests, might for right, and the uplifting of the oppressed. That's his bigger transpersonal commitment, Lancelot's. This transpersonal commitment reveals a number of other characteristics of the warrior energy. First, it makes all personal relationships relative. That is, it makes them less central than the transpersonal commitment. Thus, the psyche of the man who is adequately accessing the warrior is organized around his central commitment. This commitment eliminates a great deal of human pettiness. Living in the light of lofty ideals and spiritual realities such as God or democracy or communism or freedom or any other worthy transpersonal commitment also alters the focus of a man's life that petty squabbling and personal ego concerns no longer matter much. They no longer matter as much when you're associated, when you have your warrior, that mature warrior energy. You know there are words like purpose, and David Deida certainly talks about purpose as a man. You have different purposes throughout the chapters of your life, and the chapter may be today, the chapter may be this week, this month, and maybe this year, maybe this 10 years or your whole lifetime. The chapters can be shorter or longer. Okay, and Way of the Superior Man, phenomenal book. If you haven't read that yet, definitely put it on your top 3 to get Way of the Superior Man. All right, let's jump over, with that being said, to a question from the forum. Let's go ahead and do, let's see, I have 2. I know, jumping around, let me find it. There we go. This one's a little shorter and the second one's a bit longer. The second one is what Steve Forsman replied to. Let's start with the shorter one. So this is the participation section on top of, after you slip your red panties off, you punched into the chat, what's one thing you want to do before you die? Right, and maybe it's to put those panties back on. I don't know, but you punched it into the chat. We're going to honor that later today. Here's, I want you to get ready to respond to this or take a note. Guys, I promise you, you're going to have inspiration throughout this show every single day. Something may bring you closer to, dare I say, enlightenment or awareness of your own self, or you get a phenomenal takeaway for where you are in life. That happens every single day here, I promise you guys. So take a note or get ready to jump in with a thought. So here's the post. Hey all, Tim Wade, this is Tim Wade, posted this today below what I'm about to read. Tim Wade posted this, and I think it might be a great topic for us to discuss. A man came up to me after a talk and said, this is a Brene Brown quote. So Tim Wade posted a Brene Brown quote. Here we go. Let's talk about it. My wife and daughters would rather me die on top of my white horse than watch me fall down. When we as men reach out and are vulnerable, we get the shit beat out of us. The women in my life are harder on me than anyone else. And I want to add on to this that if there's infidelity, so because the theme of infidelity, right? So if there's infidelity in your relationship, there's been deeper stuff going on for quite a while. And I would be careful how much stock you put in your woman's opinion of you and your actions if you're in the throes of her infidelity, right? So number one, you definitely don't want to be leaning on her to give you value as a man. You don't want to be leaning on her for how your opinions of your own self. We talk about that. And I would say multiply that times 100 if there's infidelity going on in the relationship. And for lots of reasons that we can unfold, or I'd love to hear your experiences. So, I'm going to pick on Jason Bradbury, not only because his audio is always phenomenal. He loves to come on and test his audio with us, but but that he's got this beautiful program called OBS that I haven't had the courage yet to try to do on top of everything else that we're doing. I'm going to try to bring that in here pretty soon. I'm going to call on Jason here in a second because, he has experience in this area and I've experienced infidelity as well. And I want to bounce off him. So Brene Brown, the women in my life are harder on me than anyone else. They'd rather me die atop of my white horse than watch me fall down. Jason, how does that hit you? And then also what I said about being careful about your, let's say, unfaithful wife's opinion of you, because why would you say it's a good idea to be careful about how much stock you put in her opinion of you?
Take the second one first. She wants you on that horse. And I think this is a very primal thing. I think, like we talked about yesterday, I think there's a space in women, whether that's nature or nurture. I think we can go talk about that for weeks at a time, of a woman wanting to be claimed, wanting to feel the safety of being claimed by her man, and of a man then also wanting to claim his woman. I just wrote a book on Tim's personal page actually about this. When you give too much stock to how she's feeling, it's like she's bouncing up against you and you're just falling over, and it's hard for her to respect that. I think that even goes with man-to-man relationships. Honestly, a lot of times we bounce up against a guy and we expect to have some resistance there. We expect to have a sense of self that you're going to bounce off of, to kind of give you a sense of where reality is. I know I bounce off a lot of the men in my world just to try to see where reality is, where the sense of things is. She can't build attraction for you in that context if she has ultimate control. Now, my wife had 100% of my self-esteem for 20 years. If she felt good about me, I felt good about me. If she felt bad about me, I felt bad about me. And that's too much responsibility to put on one human being. They're going to feel overwhelmed, and they're going to go somewhere. At least in my experience, this is how I envision it. She went somewhere many times with many different men, to not have to have that responsibility, to not have that feeling of having to control everything all the time. She wanted to be taken. And she so much has said that to me, I mean, not those exact words, but she wanted to be taken. There is part about being a man that we should enjoy being on that horse. And that may be a little controversial in today's world, but I'm just going to say it. We need to want to be on that horse. Yes, we should be able to get off once in a while and be cured and be healed. And that's part of where women need to meet us in this whole evolution of things. However, we need to, as men, want to be on that horse.
So the wanting to be on the horse, are you saying in the limelight, attacking the world?
Yeah, I mean, we want to be like you said, with our sense of purpose, our sense of wanting to be a provider and protector, our sense of wanting to step up and do things that have never been done before, to be on a journey. Being on a journey is incredibly not only attractive for everyone around us, but is essential for our being, our way of relating to the world. I know in my personal journey with depression, if I'm set on a journey, that goes away. if I'm waking up and doing something and getting closer and have a focus going towards something, the fogginess in my head goes away. It's, I get clarity. I get a rush of testosterone. I get, so the cure for men, in my own little opinion, for depression and for apathy and lethargy and all that kind of stuff is to go do something. So.
Yeah, I love that. So that there's a few things. Let me bounce that off. Go do something, definitely. And I'll add that Jordan Peterson says telling the truth. One thing that drains us as a man is not telling the truth, either to ourselves or to the other people around us. And how you do that is a discussion, right? It's not just like being nasty about this and then veiling it in truth. Okay, but telling the truth of who you are as a man. And part of that is, okay, so let's take a step forward. I want to ask Cynthia about this. I want to mention in a moment what happens when you flip the dynamic and you act more like the woman in the relationship. I'm speaking with a new man about this as well, and she takes more of the masculine. Talk about that in a second. But Cynthia, what would you add on to Brene Brown's quote here, or the gentleman that came up to Brene Brown and said that, the women in my life would rather see me die on my white horse than watch me fall down? What are you seeing? So we work with men. Mm-hmm. You're a professional, been in this field for a long time. 25,000 plus hours for both of us, worked with hundreds of men. And what would you say about the woman in a man's life who can't handle him falling down in any capacity, right? And let's say that she uses that as an excuse to go outside of the marriage, or this is obviously oversimplified, guys, right? But let's say he loses his job and he falls off the horse. And let's say he's doing everything that he can, right? He's a good man. He's hardworking and all these things. He's trying to find and when he falls off the horse, what's going on for a woman who generally can't handle that? Give us a little insight into what's going on for her.
Yeah, this is something that brings up a lot of emotional response in me. Because I happen to believe through my studies, and I happen to believe that in, level 2, level 3 relationship, especially level 3, a woman wants you to get off the horse every now and then. She wants to be the maiden on the side of the battlefield, that when you've taken the sword to the gut or the arrow in your arm, she wants the chance to be able to be the healer in that moment and offer bandages.
Can you see the difference between the level 1 relationship and otherwise?
Yeah. So level 1 in relationship, it's kind of like two people just about themselves. And the way they get sourced in relationship is you make me feel good, I'll make you feel good. And it's like an even exchange. And it's almost like a kind of entitled, like you're supposed to give me this kind of energy so that I feel good about myself.
And if you don't, then.
Yeah. And that's what strikes me about, this gentleman's story with Brene Brown is there's a difference between if a man falls off a horse and then like totally lets go of the reins and is like any of us, like lying in the sand, and I'm guilty of this too. And the humanness of like, the horse ran away and I can't do anything. That's a very different energy than falling off the horse and you're still got your hand on the reins. For the gentleman in the story, though, women giving him no grace, and that actually strikes me as them not having a whole lot of skills. And it's almost the entitled version of femininity of you're supposed to be a certain way. So I feel safe, complete, whole, all the time. And I don't think that's possible, nor is it in the best interest for a man in that situation or his wife or daughters in that situation.
So in that spot, it's sort of perfection. Otherwise you're fucked. Basically is what it's coming across. If you're not perfect, then you'll be punished. And in no way can you ever be perfect forever. So if you don't mind jumping forward to, okay, you said a woman in a deeper level of relationship wants to heal the man sometimes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there is, like men have warrior, magician, lover, king, women have different aspects of their energy as well, that makes them feel whole and complete. You know, there is a queen energy in here, there's a healer energy in her. And if she doesn't feel like she gets to provide that in relationship, she may feel like she's not actually giving value, or that you really want all of her, or see her as being able to add to your life. And she very much wants to add to your life, have input, and make your life better if she loves you and is wanting to be in committed relationship with you.
So let me add something that feels pretty cutting edge in my own work. Even after tens of thousands of hours, I want to add something on here, okay? So as a woman's more in her feminine, the more a piece of her is going to want to be a healer for the relationship and for you as a man some of the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe a small amount of the time or a larger amount of the time, but a woman more in her feminine wants to be able to provide that for you. And that also is directly related to how much of an alpha you're being in your life, how much you've turned your shoulders and you conquer the world, and how much you come across as high value to her. The more you come across as high value, the more she's going to want to bring healing energy into the relationship at some points, so she also feels more valuable in that relationship. One danger, if you're like all alpha caveman, beat your chest, and there's no comfort at all, you're going to make the woman feel unsafe. She'll feel insecure within the relationship. There's plenty of red pill guys that talk about this, but they couch it in a different way. I want to couch it in a positive way. Couch it in a, well, what do I do about it in a positive way? So as you become, more confident, a little bit more aloof is what can often be said. You're more in your warrior. You're not collapsing like you were in the past, right? You're doing this work, and all of a sudden you find out she feels almost less safe. Okay. Well, a piece of that being less safe is you're growing and she's wondering where her place is. And another part of it is, and this is unconscious within her, she's starting to feel like maybe not good enough. Like you're becoming so much of a better man that she's not good enough. That happens quite often, and it's really under the radar. Let me ask you about that, and let me ask anyone else that has that feedback. Jason's nodding his head too. Is that ring true for you? Is that ring true in your opinion, that when, as the man of what you see, she might start feel unconsciously not good enough or want to bring more healing energy to the relationship? Say more about that.
Yeah, I think so. Masculinity brings its gifts to relationship, and femininity brings its gifts to relationship. And you've maybe exchanged that at one level, but as you grow, you're ready for that next level of exchange. And if she doesn't know how to meet you there, or you don't know how to invite her there, it's going to appear like you need nothing, want nothing, don't find any really value in what she might be wanting to offer you. And Jason mentioned earlier about a man feeling energy in his purpose and his activity, and the feminine has a similar part of that. Her purpose is so much to do with giving love and giving parts of herself and her energy to bring light and lightness and color to the people that she loves in her life. And she feels like that's just not seen, ignored, or received or wanted. That can be very crushing to her she loses all energy, motivation, or she's going to move into different kinds of avatars and maybe be more hardcore queen. And then you're going to see like some more of the shadow poles of the queen come out.
Yeah. So a lot more to talk about there. Let me give you a little cherry on top to put a bow on this. Well, what do I do then? How do I handle this? What do I do? What you do is you praise any movement of hers to open her masculine shell, which we talk about. And then second piece is any blooming of her femininity. And often blooming of femininity at first looks like she starts to cry for you. cry in front of you instead of shutting down or getting angry. Okay. Crying is much better, to use a blunt word, much as to stumble on my words, much better than shutting down or being angry at you. So if that's normally her MO, is, you know, walk away, shut down, get pissed, but this time she's crying, embrace that, praise that, right? And as she does some more healing things in the relationship or for you, find something that seems almost minuscule for you to praise as she changes in any behavior whatsoever. You're going to get another tsunami of her uncertainty and her projection and all that stuff. That's going to come too, but you have to see the light through the clouds. Otherwise, why would she bring you any more light? Why would she bring you any more openness of vulnerability and crying if you don't praise that, or if you don't recognize what that is? It's a good step toward the right direction. Okay, with that said, I'm going to share it. This is not a fun video. It's about 2.5 minutes. I'm going to just pull the fucking Band-Aid off like we do, and I'm going to move into the second post from the forum today. Here we go.
We deal with intimacy anorexia. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss. I'm the Executive Director of Heart to Heart Counseling Center in Colorado Springs. And so, you know, it's real common, and the media really portrays when men cheat and famous men cheat, but they don't really talk about when your wife cheats on you. And if you're a man watching this, I just want to first of all validate your hurt, your betrayal, your trauma, your anger, your grief, your losses, how you will never be the same is all real, all valid, and you're going to need to talk about this stuff. Okay? I've worked over 30 years, and I've had many men who've been cheated on. Some process it, some stuff it, some just divorce and go find someone else, or they cheat themselves, or they get drunk. You're going to have to process the losses of this. And regardless of who you were as a husband, their decision to cheat on you was their decision. They could have gotten counseling, they could have gotten help, they could have divorced you. There were other options on the table. Now, that doesn't mean that there might be factors that you feel bad about, okay? Process those. And if you want to work on the marriage, it's going to take some real work for you to be able to be all in again and trust. And you're like, how do I trust? Well, she can do a polygraph to verify she's not contacting the other person. She can do counseling, and there is help. She might have a sexual addiction. She might have intimacy issues. She might have abuse that she needs to deal with. Find out what it is she needs to deal with, and if she's willing to deal with it, great. But you're going to be making a major decision for you and your family, and it's going to be a secret. Because guys, unlike women who are cheated on, they don't go out and say, my wife cheated on me, my wife cheated on me. They don't wear the t-shirt, my wife cheated on me. They don't do that. Some women will tell everybody and get, you know, support and empathy and all that. Most guys suck it up. They never tell anyone. So if you've never told anyone, you might want to talk to a counselor, call my office, start talking through the process, find out what you need to do for you to heal, and if the marriage can heal, put it on the best possible path.
Okay, so a couple things I want to say. This is, 10 calls worth of information, but here's what I want to say. When infidelity happens and your ego is crushed, when you lose what you thought was forever going to be just the two of you, version 1.0 of the marriage is over. Okay? That doesn't mean you have to get divorced. It doesn't mean that one of you has to move out. It doesn't mean anything else other than version 1 of the marriage is in the ground. It's dead. It's over. And that's the first thing you have to realize. The second thing is there's going to be a phase after that, before the potential of marriage 2.0, before you should be dating anybody else. Okay, there's the phase of men's work, getting help for this, reaching out to other men, processing it, as the doctor said there. That's what we're doing here. It's what you're doing on our Facebook group. That's what you're doing in our coaching or whatever that may be. Okay. And after that phase is the potential for version 2.0 of the marriage. Or after that phase is when you will start dating other women, and you're going to have an amazing time dating other women if that's what you go into. Through this work, every single guy that does that, it's fucking a rock star. So I promise you're going to be fine through this work. You are going to be okay through doing what we teach, guys, over time, the books and the work and the connecting and the other men and the forum. Okay. It's going to take some time, but there is no way, first of all, to go from version 1 immediately into version 2. I've never seen that be successful, right? And I want you to know that it's, so my little story from earlier I alluded to, I'm working with another new man who he's acted incredibly nice, like he's the nicest fucking dude ever, too nice, his wife has been telling him. He's kind of the feminine since they got together a long time ago, 18 years, I think it was. And now she's acting like a man. And she opened up the relationship without his consent, basically said that, we've heard this story before, basically said, hey, I want to open up the relationship. Otherwise, I'm going to choose my freedom. So she basically extorted him to allow, to say it's okay. And so now he's like, oh, well, I said it was okay. And he didn't say it was okay. He actually said, no, don't do it. Don't do this. And now she's like, fine, thinking that it wasn't infidelity because she warned him ahead of time, and she opened up the relationship without his consent and slept with another man. Okay. Now he's wondering, did I do this? Is this my fault? What could I have done? She made the decision unilaterally to open up the relationship. That, in my book, and I don't know what you would call it, that's infidelity. That's violating the vows of the marriage, in my opinion, whatever your opinion is. And I told him, like, no matter what you want to tell about yourself or the mistakes you made in the past, which I've been in a very similar spot, not the opening, but the cheating, definitely on her side, right? My ex's side. I've been in that spot. No matter what, okay, the marriage will never, ever, ever be the same as you thought it was going to be again. Version 1 of the marriage is dead. And a piece of realizing that is the freedom, the process, to move into the grief, to move into the grieving of the death of version 1.0 of the marriage. And often for men, that needs space from her too. She says she needs space. Guess what, guys? If version 1 of the marriage has died, you need some space to go talk with other men, to start to flush out all the pain and the despair of that, which often takes about 2 or 3 months with the men that we work with. I say about 2 months. Now, it may be 2 years for you. It may be 2 days for you. I don't know. But for most men, often it's about 2 months. And that's not using her opinion of you to gauge how you're doing. It fucking means nothing. Okay? So if version 1 of the marriage is dead, you no longer are relying on her opinion of you at all. Zero. Maybe it was 1% before or 99% before. But the marriage is dead. You're no longer looking at her for her opinion of you. You're in that phase that's at least 2 months long. And often it's 6 months of the work that we do. Okay. And I want you to know that going in. So, we only have so much time today. I could obviously keep going. And I wanted to, my goal here, guys, is to give you perspective and kick up off the bottom of the pool with some type of a plan. And often for the men that I work with, they want to know what the map looks like. When you're in the airport and you're looking at the map, where am I going to get a freaking salad with chicken on it? Like I was last time I was on the airport. Like no one sells a damn salad in this airport. What's going on? The map, you have to have a "you are here" on the map so you know where to go from there. And that's what I want to offer you is the first steps of you are here. Version 1 of the marriage is dead. You're no longer interested in her opinion of you right now. Maybe in the future, if version 2.0 starts, then you'll give at least 1%, maybe, right, of her opinion of you. But right now, you don't care about her opinion of you. That's called saving your fucks. Okay, that's called Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. When you're not in relationship, when she, unilaterally put a bullet in the head of the relationship, you no longer give a shit what she thinks about you in that moment. That doesn't mean you be an asshole about it. That doesn't mean you rub it in her face. Okay, but I want to give you some perspective. You got to start back at zero, growing your own self again, putting your feet underneath you again through this work. Okay. Now, let me read this post. I went a little bit long in that, so I'll try to be a little less verbose. And I might have to cliffhanger this post. It's a really good one. So let's get into it as much as we can. I got some really good advice last time I posted a question, so here it goes. About 1 month ago, I made a pact with my wife. I promised to not mention sex, talk about it, insinuate it, or make any sort of sexual advance on her. In return, my wife promised that the next time she feels genuinely sexually attracted, she'll make the first move. Okay. First of all, If you're like doing tit for tat promises with a girl, not a good place to start. Okay. Not a good, this is like you're treating her like a man, like there's some kind of business exchange happening. Not a good start. Okay. Then he says, she claims to still be attracted to me, including sexual attraction, but has told me I've put too much pressure on her in the past. Obligation sex was the result, in addition to emotional distance. My hope is that her next advance, if it ever comes, will come from her heart. It would come from a place of love as opposed to feeling as if she needs to give it from a place of love, as opposed to feeling as if she needs to give it simply to escape the pressures of my pressures from the past. Once again, writing this out leads me to believe I screwed up, but I'm here for help. I can take all the constructive criticism you guys can dish. I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't know. The more you promise, the less I believe you. And here's a clarification. A man said, well, how do you feel like you messed up? And he says, one fleeting thought was that I've given up some of my power as a man. I've heard Jeff talk about masculinity such that the woman wants the man to take the sexual lead. If I don't take the lead, perhaps she won't ever be interested in coming on to me, question mark, question mark. So if I don't ever do anything, what will happen? Will she never come on to me if I don't take the lead in some capacity? Or perhaps I don't understand this aspect of it yet. I've made a ton of progress learning that I don't do things to appease her or with an attached expectation in return. Okay, so he's getting over being a nice guy, right? I do things for me. I want to draw her back in, and I just wasn't convinced the pact we made was the best way to do that. Yeah, no shit. I do feel that if I maintain complete outcome independence, things will work out. She has stated she feels less pressure, so it's moving there. Okay. All right, she feels less pressure because he's not bringing up sex, and he's wondering. So I want to open this up for about 3-4 minutes here. Do you think that, and by the way, I'm not on one side of the fence. I'm not trying to like set you up. So maybe yes, maybe no. Do you think it's a good idea to back 100% off of leading in the sex department, not even insinuating your sexuality as a man, and sort of waiting for her to come to you and give you the first advance? I could play both sides of the table, but I'd like you guys to jump in. So unmute yourself and come on in. Do you think it's a good idea for this man to back totally off his sexuality so she doesn't feel pressured? Come on in.
Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
I'm just going to make a quick statement there, Ken. I think that it is a positive for him to back off these sexual contacts in way of being for him, not her. It's good for him to cool himself down and to let the fire burn at a level that he can control, but not for her. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, that's pretty in line with what I was going to say too. He's got to have in the forefront of his mind of what he wants. If he wants relationship 2.0, if he wants, whatever the case may be, he's got to have that in his mind first before he makes that decision if he takes sex off the table. Just my thought.
Yeah, and so I think Jason and Kent and lots of us here, including me, have been in this spot where we have to ask ourselves, all right, what's the game plan during this phase of hoping to reconcile, right? And the number one game plan is you, okay? It's always got to be you first. I say this another way, if she can shove you in the chest emotionally and you fall back, that's not good. Okay, right? If she can like insult you or something and you lose your shit and emotionally you lose your shit and you fall over, that's not good. Or if you are reaching out so much and you're so like needy and wanting from her that she can kind of tease you and then you lean too much and you fall on your face, okay, that's not good either. So if something's good and she flirts with you and you're like, oh my God, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Now everything is fixed and we can have a marriage again. That's you leaning way too far forward and you're going to fall on your face as soon as she does the jig and dances back again, because she will, and we're human and that happens. Okay, so it's always first you, rooted with your feet where they are, where you want them to be, so she doesn't shove you over or you don't fall on your face. So what's your thoughts? I know this is a general situation, hey, he put too much pressure in the past. He's promised, and in exchange, she's promised to come to him if she feels turned on. He's completely given up the reins, right? Sexually, the lead sexually. What hits you? What might you add to this?
So I very much appreciate what Jason and Kent said about it not becoming energy of waiting for her to finally be able to show up. I do think that it is good to sometimes relieve the pressure if like emotions in relationship have gotten stacked up around sex. So it's like you leading the unstacking of emotions, and that's going to be the thing that helps her move back toward that, because the woman who wants to be with you is only pulling away from sex if there's just been layer upon layer after layer of a negative emotional experience. And once those layers have the chance to be rested, relaxed, and moved away, the resistance is not there anymore. And that can happen, you were alluding to how time works. I mean, that can happen in 3 years, that could happen in 3 weeks, or that could happen in 3 minutes. The key is not so much the actions as the relieving of the negative pressures that she feels like she has to push against. And you don't want to get into a situation where whatever you're doing, whether it's overreaching, is giving her something more, even more to push against, because a woman will do that because it will make her feel less vulnerable, unsteady, and make her feel empowered.
So I'll say that in a different way if you don't mind, which is she might tease you to try to get you to show interest in her if she's wanting something to push off against even more. So if that's happening, if it's closer and then all of a sudden she shoves you back and it feels like it advances her in another way, like masculine in the other direction, that's what's happening, is she's using you as a springboard. Patrick, go for it. Thanks for raising your hand.
Me, it's if you deny your own sexuality, you're lying to her. You desire, you show your desire. What he's done to me is wrong. He's put the power into her. And in a sense, in that sense, he's not leading. And in some ways, a man's got to know when to fuck and know when to make love and know the difference. You enter marriage for a relationship, not just companionship. Part of that relationship dynamic is the sexuality. And if you don't express your desire for her, what does she think? And if you're not a sexual being, you're a eunuch. She doesn't want a eunuch. And if it, to me, you're putting the control in her. You should still express what your desire is and not be bothered by the outcome of what her thoughts are.
I agree, Patrick. Everything that you said, I'm going to press pause for sake of time. I appreciate that. I agree with everything that you said. To me, it's a matter of timing through the phase of what he's going through. So I agree with everything that you said. And let's take that and actually jump over, because I want to give you the punchline, what Steve Horstman said. He's one of my mentors. I know that you guys know who he is. He's in our other forums as well. So Steve says, this is kind of small, but I'll read it out loud. He says, as I always say, context is everything. The right thing or the wrong thing depends on the stage of your relationship, your state of inner security, and also the emotional state of your partner. If a man decides that he does not want to give his incredible, valuable sexuality to a woman who does not desire him, then he does so on his own. He chooses that. That is masculine strength. That is the mindset I would recommend where you are not pursuing her. You're not avoiding pursuing her because she doesn't deserve it yet. You're not pursuing her because she doesn't deserve it yet. When she comes to you, she will deserve it and you will deliver. In the meantime, you can be hot, sexy, and unapologetically attracted to her without pressuring her for sex. And I'll definitely add onto that, and what Patrick said is, you can have fire for the world. And by the way, you can still have fire for all the femininity in your life any other women, nature. That doesn't mean you're, you know, crossing any lines. You're not touching with your hand, right? But you can appreciate, and you should be appreciating femininity in your life in all these other ways, including going out and walking and seeing the mountains and lakes and appreciating whatever the weather is today. And that woman behind the counter in the checkout line and the woman behind you in the checkout line. All of these things are a way for you to own who you are. But I agree with you, Patrick, that, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a spot where I have to stifle my entire sexuality. However, to Jason's point, doing it on your decision is the only way to lead your own self in that spot. You're not doing it out of reaction, you know. And speaking of sexuality and the red leather thong that we talked about earlier today, let's go ahead and get into Cynthia's Sexcapade spot. Here we go. Yeah, you are a man starting to rise in the world, especially if you're Wayne Campbell and you got the schwing meme going on. Teach her edging. Cynthia's Sexcapade spot today, on top of how to ride a motorcycle with no hands and no clothes, apparently. Teach her edging. Teach her edging. What would you like to share? Please go for it.
Well, something I really liked about Steve's post is he was talking about the embodiment of just fun anticipation, the celebration of sexual energy without trying to get an end result all the time. And edging is a way to practice that very physically in your own sexuality. And Jason Bradbury would be your guru to go to for a man as a practice in yourself for that. And Jason also has a class on our website called the Better Sex Class that teaches that as well. And edging is something that women can practice as well, and you can actually guide her to do, not only because it's going to increase her orgasm tremendously, but it's an anticipation practice for her, and women adore the anticipation and the buildup of sexual tension. So this is something that she can practice on her own, or even when you're together. You're looking to build up her orgasmic energy about 5 times. And every time she gets close to the edge of climax, or she experiences that kind of peak of 9 of pleasure, then kind of pull yourself back from her, let her take some deep breaths, and then repeat. This is the way you can get her to ride the edge of climax and build more pleasure over and over again in her body. And I will say again, women adore orgasm, of course, but riding the edge of orgasm for them is what they think about. Jason said the other day that women think about sex, X amount more times than men during the day. It's that riding the edge that they think about the most. So after you taking her through 5 cycles of pleasure where she gets to the edge and then relax back, over the next time you go to build up her pleasure, and you're going to have her inhale and exhale more deeply than she normally would. And again, that breath is going to take her over that edge into something that's kind of sound wave enormity in her body. So that's something for sexual pleasure, but we could also take the idea of edging into those other smaller staircase of intimacy practices. Are there ways that you can even use kissing in her, where you're consciously building connection, consciously building pleasure to a level 9, and then kind of coming back? So then you can climb that mountain with her again. Those types of mindsets might just be one of the ways that can release that layer of pressure that she's been feeling and pushing against, and really feel seen and held in your appreciation of anticipation and the building of edge with her.
Yeah, very cool. So again, you can use this with kissing. You can use this with hugging. You can use this with anything, any kind of touch.
Yes.
As you can think about escalating the staircase like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
fun times. Let's go ahead in our last 30 seconds of the show. Let's honor what the guys want to do before they die. By the way, tonight at 7:00 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm hosting Power 60, which I host. It's man to man. We're talking about Mark Manson's book Models and Sam Harris's book Waking Up. So we're doing that tonight at 7:00 if you're open for that. Otherwise, let's take 30 seconds here to honor you gentlemen of what you want to do before you die. Our Staircase of Courage question for today, please.
Bernard said buggy racing in the deserts. And Jordan said do a solo flight. Randy said go to Kodiak Island, Alaska and hunt brown bear with my son, or a 30-day African safari.
Nice.
Todd said hiking, traveling in Alaska. Hossein said visiting all countries and territories. Jason said provide for myself and all my children and grandchildren and have a multi-planet vacation.
Ooh, nice.
Kent said visit all MLB stadiums, which Chris had said, hey, I'll take you here to see the Jays. And I think that's it for that.
And Patrick wants to wear red panties in every country, including Alaska, and buggy racing in the desert just with panties. I'll just add it all.
Just at your place, Jeff.
Yes. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. Just in my place first.
And Cynthia can take them off.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. We've got
This is getting very wild.
That's right. Exactly. Those Kiwis, you never know. Fantastic, gentlemen. Good to see you. Hussein is here. Bernard, Patrick, Kent, Jason. We switch over here. Chris is here as well. Love you guys. Matt's here. Jordan, Dennis, J Bar, JT. You guys are fantastic. Have a phenomenal rest of your Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where you are in the world. And we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks. Bye, guys.
And darling, we're trying hard at you to feed it desire.